Jai Shivai. Many times, Vasanas, Chitta-vrittis and Sanskaras. These three words are used by a lot of spiritual gurus and scriptures and textbooks interchangeably. So, it confuses people. Are these texts or gurus or teachings are about the same thing? Or is it something about something different? See, the thing is that all these three are actually same when it comes to saying that this is all that you have to remove. So from that point of view, it's all same. That yes, sanskaras, chitta-vrittis, vasanas are all the stuff that we would like to remove, we would like to get rid of, right? As while walking our spiritual journey. But when it comes to removing the process of removal of each one of those, then it's a different thing. All three are different when it comes to the process of removal. It also matters when we talk about the level of consciousness at which each one of them can be removed. Level of consciousness is different for each one of them. So the first thing, I'll also explain you where these words comes from. So sanskaras is a Sanskrit word, Sanskrit Hindi word. And the basic meaning of the right translation, if you just translate it into English word, then it comes to something like approximate translation is seed form. Something that is in the seed form. Now, sanskaras are called as seeds. Means they have the potential to become a tree tomorrow. And that tree will have the potential of bearing fruits tomorrow. But right now, that potential is hidden inside the seed. So that seed, when the appropriate environment, the situations, the life situations will be found, then that seed is going to sprout. And where are these seeds right now? These seeds or the sanskaras are in the ground of Chitta. And the ground of Chitta, as I explained in my previous videos, that ground of Chitta is made up of ignorance, avidya, ajnana. Right? So that ignorance is holding these seeds. Like for example, if you have to understand sanskaras in a very tangible and practical way, then one of the example is that when a child holds a potential to become a man. If it's a male child, then he holds a potential to become a man someday, right? And a female child holds the potential to become a woman. But yet, as of now, they are just child. So that is what sanskaras is. Next thing is Chitta-vritti. Chitta means the ground of ignorance. Okay? In all the people, those who are walking their spiritual journey, those who are not yet enlightened, the ground of Chitta is ignorance for them. Not for the enlightened ones, not for the self-realized ones. That ground of ignorance converts, it changes. As you walk your spiritual journey, that ground no longer is made up of just ignorance. The ignorance is dispelled, like the darkness is dispelled. So in the same way, ignorance is gone. But so Chitta and Vritti. Vritti is more like a tendency. It's a rough translation of that Sanskrit word means tendency. Now, tendency, if you translate it even further, it becomes something like a pattern. Mental, emotional, behavioral pattern. So that's a vritti. Like lot of people initially in their life, when a vritti is arising in them, it's not easy to catch it. Vrittis cannot be caught until unless the consciousness has expanded to an extent, until unless a person has become conscious enough, they do not have direct access to their chitta. So catching a vritti is not an easy thing. It looks like a random pattern, random thing. Like in my previous video, I explained you that when a wave is rising in the ocean, and continuously if a wave keeps on rising, it becomes easy to map a pattern out of it. But if you are watching the ocean waves just for a shorter amount of time, one wave is coming here, another one there, one is crashing here, another one is crashing there, you don't see a pattern. It looks more like a random thing. So it's not easy to catch a pattern. But if you see the people, those who go for surfing, they very well know the pattern. How high the wave is going to be, where it is going to come, where is the exact location, everything. And then how much time it will be coming, right? They know it. So, Chitta-vrittis, until you have the access to Chitta, accessing the vritti, the tendency, the pattern is not easy. So that is why that vritti has to keep on rising, keep on crashing, keep on rising and crashing. That pattern has to go on for some time to be manifested in your mental and emotional body. Then it becomes a mental and emotional pattern. Now, according to the vritti, emotions start changing. According to the vritti, the thoughts starts changing. So vritti is what finally will start manifesting as thoughts and emotions. Sometimes out of nowhere you will see that some sadness comes within. A vritti may be rising from long time, but you are not able to catch the vritti until it became the emotion of sadness in you. Right? And now that sadness may persist for few hours, few days, few months, few years, depending upon what you do with it, how you take it. It'll take its course. So this is vritti. Vritti, when rises, has happened many times. It becomes an identifiable, very strong. It creates a very strong emotional and mental pattern in you. Now that pattern is called as Vasana. Now the Vasana is not a correct pronunciation of the real word is Vyasan. The real Sanskrit word is Vyasan. Vyasan, actually, if you have to translate it into English, then the approximate translation comes out to be something that's habitual, habit. Now you think of habit as some people have the habit of drinking water or doing this thing or sleeping, habit of sleeping, habits of eating. But it's not just about that. There are habits in your thinking as well. There are habits of your emotions as well. In other words, we are saying that what are habits actually? Pattern. Identifiable, noticeable, recognizable pattern in you. So that is what a Vasana is. Or that is what a Vyasan is. You become habitual of it. Because it keeps on happening out of nowhere again and again. And depending upon what you do with it. Most people run away, right? Most people do not want to suffer. If it's a sadness, they may watch the TV or go for drinking or start cooking, start eating or do something. They just want to run away from the sadness. If it's anger, then some people may throw that anger out on somebody, or some people will just suffer inside, will burn inside due to that anger. Suppress their anger, because no matter however much you want to slap your boss, you actually cannot do it. So you suffer from that anger inside, right? So this is what is Vasana or a Vyasan. Because it is very hard for people to pronounce the word, especially the Western English speaking community. It's hard to pronounce a word Vyasan. So it became Vasana. Vasana is not the right word actually. So this is the difference between the three. It's easy to catch your mental, emotional, behavioral and physical patterns, right? It's easy to catch them. So otherwise, you cannot catch them. If they are at the vritti level, you cannot catch them. Another thing is, it's something like, again I'll give you the example of the seed. When a seed is in the ground, you don't know, right? But when a small shoot has come out, you know that there was a seed here. Right? It gives you an idea that there is a seed. Now, depending upon if it's a weed, then you are going to pull it out. It's easy to pull it out. And when some leaves comes out of it, you very well know that this is a weed. And this is not some fruit or vegetable that you planted. Now, if the ground is full of so many trees, so much weed, ground is full of vegetation or whatever that you have planted, or just the wildflowers or just the trees, then the ground is not accessible for plowing. There is no ground access. And until you have the ground access, you actually cannot remove the roots. So the first thing is, it's easy to cut down a tree when you see it. Right? So first thing is catching your mental, emotional, behavioral patterns. Catching your vasanas. That's the first thing to do. Because they are easy to catch. You just have to become conscious of what you are thinking all the time. What emotion you are in all the time. And then when the consciousness rises, you become meditative. That's when most of the ground is actually clear. So the moment a shoot starts coming out, you know I have to keep the ground clean. So you just pull it out. Before even the pattern of leaves was visible to you. Before even the pattern it became a vasana. So not every Chitta-vritti becomes vasana in those who become meditative. Because you start removing them, you have direct access to the ground, to the chitta. Only when you have direct access to the chitta, you start removing Chitta-vrittis instead of your vasanas. So not everybody has to, 99% of the people, those who are walking the spiritual journey, will be removing their vasanas because they need something to identify. So emotions are your identification. Emotions are your way of recognizing. Then your mental thoughts are your way of recognizing. And it's easy to use these two as a tool. But those who become meditative, they don't have these tools. They don't want to even manifest something into their manomaya kosha, into their mental and emotional body. They don't want it to manifest. So they will start removing the things directly from the chitta. So some people work at the Chitta-vritti level. And then yet when you start going into samadhis, then no shoots has to come out. You will plow the field, remove all the damn seeds. The seeds will be burnt, parched forever. No more Chitta-vrittis will happen. No more they have to become vasanas. And we are talking about sanskaras, Chitta-vrittis and vasanas, the ones which cause bondage in you. There are sanskaras, there are Chitta-vrittis which are called as vyuthan Chitta-vrittis, or the sanskaras which run your physical body, which are responsible for all the involuntary functions that are happening in your body, like breathing, like your heart is beating, your kidneys are working. They do not require any voluntary control from you. Right? So there are sanskaras and there are Chitta-vrittis which manage the body. They will go on as they were. So even when you are enlightened, even when you are self-realized, the physical, the entire Vithan Chitta-vritti, the way it was, it will keep on going even after that. So not all sanskaras, not all Chitta-vrittis have to be removed. Only the ones which cause bondage. Bondage in the form of life and birth, life and birth, life and birth, life cycle. That hamster wheel. Anything that's responsible for that hamster wheel has to be removed. Not all of them have to be removed. The ones which manage your panchakoshas never have to be removed. Only the ones that were weeds have to be removed. So that's why at times gurus and teachings and books and scriptures use these words interchangeably, because ultimately you have to remove them all. right? But when it comes to the process of removal, when it comes to the level of consciousness at which they can be removed, then this is how you differentiate between the three. So I hope you understand these three in much more clear manner now, and you know at what level you are. If you are still using your thoughts and emotions to identify your patterns, then that means you are removing vasanas. The day you become meditative, this lecture is of no use. You will know. The jnana of yoga comes from yoga. So with the day you start removing you have direct access to chitta, and you start removing and catching chitta-vrittis, you will know it. Namaste. Jai Shiva.